In this video, I want to showcase the Table.Distinct function, which has a hidden feature, which is that it adds a primary key to the column or columns that you remove duplicates from. And this is something you can access behind the scenes, which is a feature that I assume Power Query uses when it does joins in order to say that, hey, I know this column is unique, which means you can only find one match, meaning that once you find a match, you can stop looking because there will only ever be one. I don't know if Power Query internally knows whether there's a strong connection between a column and another column, meaning that it knows there's exactly one match inside of the column, which is something you can have in DAX. In any case, Table.Distinct does this automatically, but you can also manually add a key to a column, both a primary and foreign key, if you want to, without removing duplicates. In this case, I have a table with years and months and some values, and I want to remove duplicates right now on the year column just to show what the Table.Keys function produces when you have a primary key on one column. So all I have to do is to say remove duplicates, and then I can't see it in the function, but if I use the Table.Keys function, that returns the keys of my table, which then produces a list of record, and if I have multiple keys, then I'll have multiple records. Which means I can then use the Table.FromRecords function in order to convert this list of records into a proper table. So this will give me one row for each key. I can see that my columns is a list because it's possible to have a key composed of multiple columns, which we'll see in the next example. In this case, my columns is only one column, the year column, and it is a primary key. And this is what we expect because when you remove duplicates, you know for a fact that you only have unique values inside of this column. So there will be a number of rows equals to the number of unique values in this column. The process is the same when you have two columns. I can highlight the two columns and say remove duplicates, and then it will take the combination of column 1 and column 2. If I find this combination again, then I want to remove it. The same principle applies. I say Table.Keys to go into the table, which is still a list of records, and the problem here is I can access this internal list without expanding this. So I could just press it if I know I only have one key, and then I get a record saying columns list is then year and month. And it doesn't actually matter what order I do them in, but you might have a preference if you want to add a column where you combine the year and month to have a single column, but it's functionally not necessary. In this other table, I have one row per day of production, and I've added in a year column and a month name column. Because of the way my data is set up, I know for a fact that this date column will always be unique, but of course the year won't and the month name won't either. Because I can guarantee that the date column will always be unique, if I just go in and say remove duplicates, it won't actually do anything, or rather the output won't be different. But this will cost computational resources, so it's pointless to have to calculate and find all of the duplicates, because the way it will have to do is it would have to take this date and compare it to a list of unique values and then say if it exists in this unique list, then I want to remove it, and if it doesn't exist, I want to keep the row and add this value to that list, and then it will have to repeat that process for every row. At least that's how I would do it. I don't know if that's how Power Query does it internally. But in any case, since I know I won't ever have duplicates, I don't want to have this step because it's computational power. Instead, I can use the Table.AddKeys function in order to say I want to add a key to this table. As I showed before, you can have a key that's composed of multiple columns, so I have to pass it in as a list. And I'll just say I want that to be the date column. And then whether it's a primary key or a foreign key, I want this to be true because again, I know the date column is unique. So once again, there's no physical difference. It's only added metadata to the step. And I can repeat the same process to add a foreign key. In this case, I want to add a new column which has the start of month because maybe I want that for a join, or when I produce my graph, maybe I want it to start at the first of the month. But this won't be unique because if I have multiple days from the same month, then this value will be the same. So I want to mark it as a foreign key that tells another developer that I want to do a join to it. So you don't have to do it, but I want to do it. And the process is the same. I want to use Table.AddKey, and this time I can't read the name of the column. There it is, start of month. And all I have to do is to say that I want it to be false, that it is not a primary key. And again, nothing visually happens because it happens behind the scenes. Lastly, the process is the same. I use Table.Keys in order to see what my keys are. And because I now have 2 keys, I have 2 records in my list. And once again, I want to convert that because it's a bit nicer to read it when it's a table. So I know that my date column is a primary key, which means I can do a join to this table and know that this column will be unique. And I know that my start of month column is not a primary key, meaning I expect duplicates, but I can do a join to this from the calendar table or from another table. Maybe I want to see how many employees were at this company, were at this team at the start of the month, and I can then compare the production from this whole month to how many employees I had. So again, you don't have to add foreign keys, and I probably wouldn't do it, but you might have that case if you have multiple people working on the same reports. It might be very nice to have. And this is the kind of step you can always have at the end of your query, not as the last step, but the second to last step. And it's just nice for another developer to see. They can see what they expect. Or you could do this at the end of a query yourself to see what you expect from the table if you get it from someone else. So